Warlocks 2024 Player's Handbook. We are discussing the changes. What is that?
There's a little devil.
What
Little devil patron.
Oh, what is
Warlocks
that?
don't have to be devils.
There's
That's a
little-
human
there's a
being,
little
Kevin.
devil
Oh,
patron.
they have to be devils.
That's a red-blooded American.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
He's
Green
I
blood.
got a green card.
Yeah.
I got a green card.
Green card.
I got a green card.
Hello, welcome to Warlocks Player's Handbook edition of 20. Yeah, Warlocks. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys feel about the Warlocks? The changes that came in from 2014 to 2024 with the Warlocks. What like Pact Magic is a different thing now, and patrons now don't come into like third level. What, Sean?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, you shouldn't curse in the first minute of a YouTube video. So Mo, why don't you take it?
So,
Fair.
I'm going to set you up for what you're going to say. Because, okay, so here's my, like, overall feeling about the Warlock throughout 2014 and this version. It is an edgelord's dream.
Cream dream.
I was going to say wet dream, but now I said it. Great.
Coom.
It's all out there.
Coom in your pants. Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
now
Staying on your patron.
it always felt like, oh, I want to. It's the ultimate gish. It is super simple for new players to play. In its basic form is just like, I want to be able to blast things and fight with a sword and not have to think too much about how spell slots and complicated spells work, which is great in some ways, but it's also created this sort of like very, like, you only saw repeats of the same kind of warlocks all the time, right? You had your Eldritch Blast warlock, sometimes your Hexblade, but mostly your Eldritch Blast. So I think to try to change that, as they've done with a lot of the classes, they've tried to make it more customizable and unique.
Modular.
So you have reasons to pick other patrons and other abilities and other things, so that the warlock feels not just like a one-note pony, right? Would you kind of agree with that sort of like overarching?
I think they blasted my boy in the ass. I think they ripped the floor out from underneath him in a lot of ways with one small change.
Yes.
I agree that now you're not as locked in, right? You also were very enthused about the cantrips, right? Having more versatility than just Eldritch Blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You also mentioned the pacts that you don't have to like choose Pact of the Blade or the Chain or whatever, and now you're locked into that. You choose invocations and you build more like maybe even like a video game card, like a little bit different.
Yeah.
Totally like that. Big fan of that. I think they're cowards for not going with the massive overhaul that they were pitching in the 1D&D playtests. I thought that was genuinely interesting and really cool. I also think they're fools because I would rather have every single character class build themselves the way you build a warlock. I think if you had invocations instead of class features that are locked behind subclasses, yes, everyone would call this Pathfinder 3.0, but whatever. The point is, I think that would be really interesting, exciting. So when they got some feedback that they were not going to change too much about Pact Magic, which was gone for a few months, there just wasn't Pact Magic, they retreated and they went, let's not change it too much. And then they slipped a knife in between my ribs because they said that instead of being able to get all of your Pact Magic spell slots back on a short rest, you can now only get half. And you can only do it by doing a 1-minute ritual once per long rest.
And the number of spell slots per level hasn't changed, right?
I don't know. But no, it doesn't seem to be. But I haven't played a 2024 Warlock. I probably won't. I'm going to make a request to play an Ardling 2014 Warlock.
Waiting for you to bring
However, I must say this. When you decide that you're going to remove this ability for them to get all their spells back, even though they have a very small number of spells, they only have 2 all the way up to level, I think, 11. So you're only going to be casting 4 spells a day, and then you're only doing cantrips and swords or whatever.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if you want to make everybody more on par, right? You want them to not be the best gishes automatically. Fine. But the most fun I think you can have, most fun I can have when I'm imagining myself as an adventurer in this kind of a magical world is somebody who can go all day in some kind of a war or a dungeon or whatever, take a break, have a Mountain Dew Code Red, and you're ready to go again.
Not a sponsor.
Right? Not a sponsor. Also,
Yet.
don't think it tastes good. I mean, it's delicious. The point being, now it's just another one of those classes where they're like, oh, short rest, let's only save that for a very select number of abilities.
Right.
So I think it would be almost impossible now to build a party of only short rest people, which I always thought would be a dream to do, because you could legitimately be superheroes,
Right.
adventurers, moving from town to town or room to room and clearing it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Would you
Go ahead?
really quick, just on because I can feel the heat and the coming
The passion.
would you play a Warlock
Uh-huh.
in a 2024 game that I ran if I allowed your patron to be the elusive
Ardling?
Bardling
No!
that doesn't
No!
exist?
Get out of here!
I have a
And
couple,
but everything he's given you to do is to like bring the Arlings back into the world.
No.
I have a couple thoughts. So one is, I don't remember. Well, I'll go to the first one first. The first one is, I think there's this thing where so much of the energy that you hear online and within the fan base is negative about, like,
What?
especially the word OP gets tossed around all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gen Z or Y or whatever.
Whichever one.
Because they're like, oh, well, people complain that the Warlock is too powerful, or people complain that the Paladin is too powerful, and DMs complain because it's not fair because they can do all this stuff, and it's like, it's this quest for, like, everyone should suck the same, and it's like why can't, like, obviously there's going to be some classes that people are going to play just because they want to play that class, right? Like, if my fantasy is to be a rogue, I'm going to be a rogue, and I'm not going to worry about min-maxing most of the time, because I just want to play the fantasy of being a rogue, 2 daggers, and I go and I shiv people, and I'm part of an assassin's guild or whatever. But then there's going to be ones that people just play and go to because they know that it's OP, right? Like, if I
Or dip into,
right? Like, they hack the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a disservice to the community, because I think that it predicates this idea that the rules everyone needs to follow the rules, even though it's contradictory to what everything else about this new player's handbook says, which is the rules are just like a suggestion. I mean, it doesn't come out and say that, but that's the idea, is like, it's about having fun. It's about living out these fantasies and about getting to do cool shit. You have to have a session 0 where you say, is everybody cool with everyone just being able to do like 10 backflips in the air and like shoot spaghetti out of their eyes because we're all going to be superheroes, right?
Yeah.
That's the that's I'm saying states' rights.
Oh my God.
Wow.
No, I'm just saying, like, it made me think of that, because I was like, I don't need Wizard of the Coast telling me that I can't get all my short spell slots back in a long rest. And obviously, sure, we can do whatever we want at our table, but I think it traps new players into being like, yeah, but this is what you have to do. And you know what's going to happen with this new Warlock? Some other class, because of some other cross-pollination, somebody hacks the system, and everybody's going to be complaining about the next class, or they're going to find ways to break this Warlock, and it's still going to be, like, uneven, right? And this obsession with, like, everybody's got to be on the same playing field, otherwise it's not fun. Sure, if you're 10, and I get why, like, a lot of kids play this game, and I think, sure, like, making everything fair for children is fine. But I think if you're over the age of 16...
That's how life is.
over the age of 16, we all know that, like, I'm never going to run as fast as Usain Bolt. So I should be able to play a character that runs faster than I do, and runs faster than his stupid Ardling whatever.
They fly.
Because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. And I think this robs you of that fun, right? I think it should be a table-to-table discussion where you decide good faith interpretations of the rules, which is like, I know technically I could do this Warlock dip and it would make me really overpowered. And my other party members, they don't really give a shit. So sure.
It helps the group.
Or I can do it. I can not do it because I know it's going to bum them out. You know, I don't, and I think that's the philosophy they took into this, where everything has to be standardized. In some ways, has some positive benefits, but in a lot of ways, is just ruining creativity.
Well, I feel like, I mean, they've obviously did it for a reason, and I think that reason is balance. I'll play devil or patron's advocate here, because I feel like they did it for balance, because a lot of, you know, wizards and that are like, oh, I don't get all my spells back. I can do, you know, I can get some of them back, but I can't get all my spells back. So they obviously wanted to cripple that from Warlocks a little bit by you only get half your spells back.
Right, but then it goes back to Sean's point, which is short rest and long rest. It always comes down, if there's one Warlock in the party and everyone else is on a long rest reset, it's like the rest of the party doesn't want to necessarily take a short rest as often, because like they don't get anything for it.
But that also will be different table to table as well, right? Like, because you can really change whether you want it to be a 10-minute thing, whether you want it to be an hour, whether you want it to just skip it. We're moving to the next thing. For balance, it makes sense that we did one. All I wanted, really, if they were going to make these balance changes, all I wanted was for them, instead of going, oh, let's make weapon masteries and then we're kind of done with all the martials, let's move on to this and let's make these people weaker and now we're good.
Yeah.
I just think that the marshals all should have been given way more stuff.
100%.
And then I wouldn't really mind about this, right? I just think balance should bring everybody up, right? And I encourage all of the DMs out there and all the players out there to just figure out what you want to pick and choose from this menu.
And
so, yeah. I'm going to end this, so you say it now.
Well, but we haven't even talked about half the things. We're going to talk about how modular...
Because you talked a lot about one thing.
Hey, let's talk... you want to talk about patrons and communicating
balance,
with
man.
them? Sure, you can now talk to your patron, which I think is a cool RP flavor thing. It can offer a more personal relationship with your patron.
And it gives rules for it, which I think was an issue with some Warlock players who didn't have either a good session 0 or communication with their DM. They want to know, well, am I always being watched by them? Am I communicating with them constantly? Do I have that ability? Because for clerics, it's very clear. Clerics have a number of different spells that will allow them to do that. Also, they can pray, right? Which has no guarantees, but they can do it. Warlocks only really could pray and hope. And hope their DM had an idea for when stuff was going to happen. So they have now put it into the rules for anybody, just to make sure the DMs are going to have to pay attention to this as well. Especially when you are casting contact other plane, you're going to automatically succeed. Which is nice.
Which
they want to show that closeness.
Yeah.
You have a contract.
And also, like he mentioned briefly, but there's no more Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Tome, Pact of the Chain. It's all invocations now, which I think is something which has always been sort of an attraction of the Warlock, which is the ability to be able to do a bunch of cool things. Like, it's a very versatile. And I think that they've tried to lean even more into that with how everything is now invocations. And so you can really sort of Swiss Army knife this thing into whatever you want it. But you need to take more rest.
Yeah. Anything else? Warlocks.
I think they should have included the genie patron over the celestial. I mean,
still top 6 though. Still top 6 class. Fight me. Fight me.
Top 6.
Let us know in the comments.
Well, I think let us know, like, if you've played Warlock. Let us know how the long rest, short rest thing is with getting your spells back. Do you guys just screw it and get all your spells back
also tell us who your patron is. I'm always curious to hear about that. Right? Let us know. I had a buddy who had a patron who was Steve Jobs. Happened right when Steve Jobs died, in a really respectful way though.
My patron could beat your patron. Let us know in the comments. We're gonna go to the next one now.